In this lecture, I'm going to show you how you can capture files with Wireshark that are sent over the network with the FTP protocol. The first thing we'll need to do is make sure that our 3 VMs are powered on. So we have our Kali Linux VM running, our FTP server, and our FTP client. The first thing we're going to want to do is open our Kali VM and begin a Wireshark packet capture. So I'm going to show this VM, and up in the top left corner I'm going to click Applications, Sniffing and Spoofing, and I'm going to select Wireshark. So now we're presented with the error that says, you're logged in as root. You should logged in with a less privileged user. I'm going to ignore this and click OK. And since our whole test lab is using Ethernet 1, I'm going to begin the capture on Ethernet 1. Now you can double check and make sure that Ethernet 1 is connected by clicking this little drop down arrow in the top right corner and just clicking on Ethernet 1 and making sure it's connected and not off. This is our NAT only adapter. This allows us to connect to Google or download updates, etc. So now that we're sure about that, I'm going to double click on Ethernet 1 and our packet capture has begun. So now let's download some files with the FTP client. So I'm going to switch over here to my FTP client VM and I'm going to open FileZilla. All right, so now let's make a connection to our FTP server. So I'm going to hit File, Site Manager, and the IP address of my FTP server has changed since it was using DHCP, so it's now .10. So I'm going to click Connect. And we can see we've logged in and we've retrieved the directory listing. So I'm going to download each of these files individually. So let's double click. We can see that it copied over here. So it's downloaded to my desktop. Double click this one and double click social security numbers. Okay, so we've now downloaded the 3 files. So what we need to do now is shut off this packet capture. So I'm going to switch back over to my Kali Linux VM. And we can see we have all kinds of data here. So I'm going to click the stop button in the top left, stop capturing packets. And now we're not going to be collecting any more noise since we've already collected information about the event that we wanted. So now we're going to add a display filter. And there's 2 things that we're looking for. Anything that has to do with FTP or FTP-data. I'm going to press enter, move my mouse so you can see that. So it says FTP or FTP-data. Okay, so the FTP-data will actually be the file that was transferred, and the FTP will be information like the username that was sent, the password. For example, we can see the password was required for admin. There was the password that was sent, the directory listing, and so forth. So we're going to scroll down here, and we can see here is an FTP data transfer. Okay, now this is just the listing of all the files that are in the current directory. So we're going to ignore this FTP data and keep going down. Okay, here's another one. So opening channel for file download. It looks like that a file was downloaded called creditcardinformation.txt. And we can see that by clicking the file transfer protocol dropdown. And we can see here file data channel of file download of server. And then it has the directory, the root creditcardinformation.txt, followed by the data. So if we click here, we can see this information. So there's a Visa card in here, and some names and an address, I guess. So this is a little bit unreadable. So what we need to do is check out the name. This is creditcardinformation.txt. So let's check the FTP data file. Let's select the FTP data down here, and let's choose File, Export Packet Bytes. And I'm going to just go to the desktop, and it was called creditcard information.txt. That was the original file name. So I'm just going to click save. Okay. And now let's go ahead and move on down the chain because we downloaded 3 files. So let's find the other files that we downloaded. Okay. So I went a little bit too far. So let's scroll down here. All right. So here's employee.pii.txt. Again, let's select the data for the PII and let's click FTP data down here. File, Export Packet Bytes, or you can simply press Control H. And this one was employee.pii.txt. I'm going to hit save. And let's see, there was a 3rd file, so let's find that 3rd file. And we have social security numbers.txt. So select the data, hit File, Export Packet Bytes. And we're going to save this as, social security numbers.txt. And we'll hit save. Okay, so let's open the credit card information.txt. Now here we have the whole file. This was what was downloaded from the FTP server. So if we close out of here, let's look at employee PII. Okay, we can see there's some information here. Close that. And social security numbers. So here's some randomly generated social security numbers. And no, none of this information is real. It's all fake generated information. So let's take a look at the original files and see how closely they were replicated when we caught them with Wireshark. So let's minimize this. And over here on the desktop, these are the files that we used FileZilla to download. So let's open the credit cards. And you can see that it's formatted the exact same way. It even gets the tab indentation on employee PII. We can see that here. And it has social security numbers. So the files were preserved 100% accurately as they were when we downloaded it from the FTP server. But there's no logs and there's no traceable events saying we downloaded these files because we intercepted them in transit. We didn't steal the username and password from the FTP server and then log on to the FTP server and download it. Instead, we intercepted the files in transit. It's a better way to get a hold of these files in a less traceable way. So that's all we're going to do for this lecture. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and I will see you in the next one.